Hello, Ron. My name is Tanisha. I will be interviewing you over your life, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So my first question is, can you describe the way your parents provided for you as a child? For example, emotionally, was your parent there to guide your behaviors? Materially, did your parent provide necessities or items that you desired? And stability, was your parent there regularly?
Well, I was born at the beginning of World War II, so my father left right after I was born and was gone for several years in the war. And we lived with my great-grandparents for a while, and then we would go live with some other grandparents for a while. But in all of that, I didn't know that I was in an unstable situation. I was happy, and I had good parents, and excuse me while I fix this. We had food to eat and clothes to wear and a place to sleep that had a roof over it, and that was fine with us. We didn't really think about wanting any more.
That's good. Were you a child that was independent early on, or did you feel like you were attached to your caregiver? For example, did you feel like your caregiver let you have the choices that you would like? In toys, food, clothing?
Well, those weren't the choices that I wanted. The choices I wanted was the freedom to act and think the way I wanted to. The food was just food, so we ate whatever was there. But I was independent. I started out that way and haven't changed a bit in my life.
Okay. When engaging in play as a child, did you acquire a large circle of friends or few? When you were a child, did you prefer to play by yourself or with others?
I played a lot by myself, but I read from even before I started school. And my favorite thing to do, and my first real act of independence, was to walk from my house to the library in the little town I lived in and get a book. And so by the nature of being a reader, I was kind of more at ease with just myself. I always had friends, but I didn't have a big crowd of friends. That wasn't the way I was.
Mm-hmm. I understand, because, I mean, sometimes it's best that way. Stay out of trouble that way. How quickly were you engaging in play with other children or that you did not know personally? And would you describe yourself as a bully, a leader, a follower, or a victim?
Well, I don't know if I'd choose any of those. We moved every 3 years to a different town or a different state. My father worked for pipeline companies, so we were constantly uprooting and moving on to another place. And so I learned a lot about how to get to know new people because I was forced to do it all the time. The harder part was leaving friends behind, and I often wrote letters to stay in touch with them, and to this day still know people from all the previous parts of my life.
That's cool. As an adolescent, did you receive help during school or at home on school lessons? How did you feel that your parents felt about your future? Did you feel as if your parents and peers showed encouragement and believed in your goals that you set for your future?
My parents were always encouraging. I don't think I asked for help with my schoolwork. I may have, but we pretty much just did that work as we were supposed to without asking for help. I did have friends whose parents sometimes seemed more engaging about just exactly what kind of grades I was getting and what courses I liked the most, and I appreciated that. I appreciated that kind of interest in people wherever it came from.
As an adolescent, did you feel as though you were confident in yourself? Did you feel as though you fit in society? Did you have support in different roles? And have you developed a sense of identity as yourself as a teen?
Well, as I told you, we moved every 3 years, and what I left out was I started out in New Mexico in a primarily Mexican community, and then moved to Texas, which was full of Texans, and then I moved from there to Utah, which was full of Mormon people. And in almost every case, I was the only one like me, and then there were all these others, and I came to have a really strong appreciation for the cultures of other people. but at the same time, I also came to be pretty comfortable with who I was and as an independent person. So I value independence, but I also value the language and ways and food and expressions of other cultures.
Okay. Now, this is the part where I said if you don't want to answer, it's fine, but can you describe some of your relationships that you participated in as a young adult? Were some of these relationships a failure? If so, describe some of the reasoning for the failure of the relationship. Do you feel that the failure of the relationship was caused by you or the other person?
Well, that's hard to answer, but as a young adult, I continued to move some. I also went to Vietnam with a unit that was all from New Mexico, about 80% Mexican American. I made some important relationships in that experience and still have those friendships. But I also learned that as my life changed, as I really pursued a more intellectual kind of achievement, that some of the friends I started out with, because we were all from working class families, that they didn't quite understand that I was going to be doing a work that was very different than theirs. And I had to work harder at those relationships, and sometimes they failed. Sometimes people can get mad at your success because it amplifies what they think might be their failure. And you have to take care with those relationships. That's what I learned from that. You have to remind people why they're valuable to you, even if your lives are different and growing more different.
Okay. What were aspects that strengthen your longer-lasting relationships? Describe the connection between these relationships. For example, close, committed, broken, torn, isolated, comforting, or neglected.
Well, I pick people, for my long relationships. So I have people from the days when I was around race cars and motorcycles, but they're not the simple ones. They're the ones that were more complicated. One of my oldest friends, who builds race cars, 75 years old, but he's a one-man hospice. He's taken care of 3 terminally ill cancer patients in his home. And he doesn't read books in the same way I do. He doesn't do other things that I do, but I so value him for that. And so the other thing is that when you do have relationships for a long time, even if they're not the best ones, they seem to get richer with time. When you learn to forgive each other, when you learn to kind of accept people back after they get angry at you, you end up with this rich history, and you value the history as much as the relationship.
Okay. Do you feel as though you were a positive influence on the lives of others? For example, family, friends, co-workers. Were you involved in some community, some society within the community, for example, church, denominations? Did you feel as though you created or accomplished things that were bettered by others?
Well, I always try to figure out what I can do to help other people get what they want, as long as I think it's a good thing. But and I did that through all of the careers I've had, which have been different each from the other, but always trying to be a servant in that sense. And I don't mean that in any kind of arrogant or even religious way. I just think it's important to add to people's lives, however you find, whatever small ways you can.
Okay. Did you look back upon your life with regret or feel as though you did not accomplish your goals? Or do you feel satisfaction with your life journey? Do you feel that others benefit from your wisdom or have obtained life interactions?
What was the last part of that question?
I know, I'm dyslexic. Did you feel as though others benefit from your wisdom you have obtained through life interactions?
Well, you'd have to ask all those others whether they benefited. I can't really say whether they did or not. Some people get tired of listening to me talk, and other people seem to be interested. So I don't know what the answer to that is. But in terms of my life, I've been really lucky, and I've gotten to do a lot of things that I wanted to do, and I lived a lot longer than I ever thought I would. And so I don't really have any regrets. I have a deep sense of appreciation for what I've gotten to do.
Okay. Because I know, like, for example, you've impacted my life, because I wouldn't be in the situation that I am without you and without the Sparkman Scholarship Program. So I appreciate you, and I actually like to hear you talk. I don't know about others, but you're appreciated by me.
Well, thank you very much,
And
but you did all the work, so you just remember that.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate you for letting me do this video interview with you.
You bet.